Malengo is a non-profit, which I'm quite familiar with. They have an example of an income share agreement. For students, there are a number of financing possibilities, not just around the world, right? If you cannot afford your tuition fees, they're called income share agreements. Income share agreements, basically a contract that say, I'll give you money now for your upfront costs, and you pay me back when you start working, when you gain full employment, and you're earning above a certain threshold, and you pay me back a certain amount of money a month.
Okay. If you got 10K, are you going to pay 10K back at the end?
No,
a little bit more?
No, it's just that will be burning money, right? So if you got 10K, you have to pay back depending on what the agreement is, depending on your risk profile, depending on what the country you're coming from, depending on, even in developing our own ISA, which we'll get to in a bit, we need to take it into consideration, right? We need to make sure that there's so many factors, so many attributes of the person which need to flow into that model to determine how much you can give them, what repayment window you can give them, repayment rate, or how much is to pay you back, etc. So it flows into it. So it's very common with students. I think ISAs originated in the US because, again, they're not alone. They're different financial instrument. They have different terms, different conditions, different regulation surrounding them. I forgot what the company is called. I want to say it was Brain in the US, and they'll give these candidates these loans to learn technology skills, right? To learn how to code, and then help them find work, and then they'll repay them when they started earning, right? So that lasted for a while, but then it ended up not being too great because, obviously incentives are the way they are, and then you start giving candidates too much money because you want back a lot of repayment, right? So it began over there, but we have it here as well in Europe quite a bit. We have things like Brain Capital, or providers like Brain Capital. They give you money for if you have entrance into like a top university and the top expensive universities, and you cannot afford it, then in some cases they'll give you an ISA. So you have like different focuses for this. You have lenders, which is generally, they've been around 5 years. They don't quite care what university you're going to. It's just, you need to be doing a master's degree. There's so many attributes of the candidate that determine whether you actually get the money or not, right? You need to be in a field where they can, forecast your wage development, etc. So you have all of these things happening. In Africa, in labor mobility, very few people have actually taken the step to provide these services, right, to us Africans to move abroad, because the local financial institution is looking at, they need local collateral, they need local circumstances, they need understanding of what's happening locally. As soon as I'm taking a loan to go somewhere, it's the risk profile.
You're gone. How do we get our money back?
Exactly. How do I get my money back? I don't even know what you mean. Why would I give you my money? So, and of course, there's a philanthropist, as they would often do. Again, they have their own incentives, they have their own motivations, but they get involved and they try to make certain things happen, right? And so there have been some recent developments in the space. And we work abroad are working on, or work abroad advance, which would be an income share agreement for workers and apprentices who are relocating to Germany.